Welcome everyone to our International Pharmacy webinar. We are streaming live from the University of Tasmania, and we're very glad to have you here today. So it seems like we've got about almost 70 attendees, so from all across the globe. So welcome everyone. So before I introduce you to our presenters, may I please advise that if you have any questions regarding our webinar today, please type them in the chat box and then we will address them after the presentation has been completed. So this is a recorded webinar, and then we will be sending you a copy of this link as well as the presentation via email. So my name is Donna and I'm one of the student recruitment officers at the University of Tasmania, and I'll be your host today. So to set the scene, I'm quite proud to say that at the University of Tasmania, we have a 100% graduate employment rate for our pharmacy graduates. And we have 100% professional placements in Tasmania and in mainland Australia. So our pharmacy graduates are highly sought after. So studying pharmacy at the University of Tasmania gives students the opportunity to study in a unique blend, not just studying in a beautiful, beautiful island in Tasmania, but we also balance that with academic support and social support as well with our students. Hence, they become a successful graduate and become a medication expert. So the University of Tasmania has a long-standing and highly regarded track record in pharmacy education and research. In fact, we are one of the original Australian universities to offer a pharmacy degree, and we are the first to offer a clinical training, long track record in undertaking research, both laboratory-based and in clinical form. And we also provide a range of programs to meet the needs of patients, the healthcare system, and the pharmaceutical and related industry. So we aim to deliver excellence in local, national, and international pharmacy education and healthcare research. So to begin with, may I please introduce you our first presenter, Dr. Colin Curtin. Dr. Colin Curtin is a lecturer in our online courses in pharmacy in the School of Medicine and Faculty of Health. So Colin actually is our alumni at the University of Tasmania. He completed his Bachelor of Pharmacy at UTAS in 1988. And then since he has worked primarily as a community pharmacist for various pharmacies in Tasmania, as well as in hospital pharmacies such as the Royal Hobart Hospital. So in 2010, he completed his honours first class, and 4 years after that, he completed his PhD. So Colin's knowledge, along with his personal interest in information technology, this combination brings a useful perspective in the field of pharmacy. So may I please present to you Dr. Colin Curtin.
Thank you, Donna. Perhaps we can move forward to the next slide and we'll continue on from here. Thanks very much. So as Donna said, I'm Colin Curtin and I'm the course coordinator for the fully online clinical pharmacy suite of courses, which covers the graduate certificate, graduate diploma, and the Master of Clinical Pharmacy. So a bit of a background to the space is, for those that don't know, a pharmacist's role involves a lot more than medication supply. We educate consumers, patients, and other health professionals about medications. We advise on interactions and adverse effects and ways to mitigate or resolve these issues. So it's an important part of our job that is often hidden away. So our purpose is to ensure the safe use of medications, which is often referred to under the term of medication safety. And medication safety is a really important concept, particularly right now in the world at the moment. In most parts of the world now, we've got an ageing population because we've done a good job of treating a range of illnesses and improving public health and so on. So with an ageing population comes additional problems. There's a greater need for medications in older people. Each person has more medications per person compared to a younger person. And this alone requires an investment of knowledge and upskilling in medication safety. To add to this is the ongoing and increasing research in the production of new types of medications and applications of existing medications to new treatment regimens for patients. So there's a lot of stuff we need to learn and understand to be able to provide our skills and services to consumers and other healthcare professionals. So through our clinical pharmacy courses, we teach students the importance of medication safety. And in the master's research space, students also conduct small research projects that have an impact in their workplace and often more broadly as well. So the clinical pharmacy programs help the community through upskilling pharmacists, yourselves, in hospital and community settings. This is so that our skilled pharmacists can provide advanced clinical pharmacy care. Our students are well recognised and in departmental settings, such as in hospital practice, are rewarded with higher pay and acknowledgement of their advanced skills. They're also rewarded in that they may be allocated unique hospital project spaces or career paths that they may not otherwise have had access to. So to achieve this, we develop student skills to define clear clinical questions so they can apply this questioning strategy to search for relevant, up-to-date evidence to help resolve any clinical problems that arise in their workplace. And for those of you that particularly work in hospital pharmacy, you'll know that your co-workers who are pharmacists or nurses or physicians will often come to you or through other channels ask questions about the complexities of medications in particular patient circumstances. So we use this questioning approach, this evidence-based questioning approach, to many clinical areas, and across our clinical units we cover a wide range of contemporary topics in respiratory, renal, cardiovascular, neurology and psychiatric conditions as well. The clinical issues we present are complex and contemporary, and they're developed by pharmacists who primarily work in hospital pharmacy space, but they are on top of the game, they know their stuff, and they present current issues and very complex and challenging cases that students have to draw their insight into and apply their evidence-based knowledge to solve through the assessment tasks that we provide. I guess a common contemporary case study is that of medication D prescribing, that is, reducing the medication burden in an older person. As I said before, older people are often on many medications, and it comes to pass that over time, a range of those medications are best to be withdrawn or removed from that patient to reduce the complexity of their medication regimen and perhaps to reduce side effects and to simplify their approach in life. So part of the student's role is to then determine the appropriateness of each medication and develop a medication withdrawal strategy to safely reduce or remove medications from that patient's existing plan. And there's a lot of approaches to do this using a whole range of evidence-based resources and accessing important databases such as UpToDate and PubMed and relevant text to help answer these questions. So the student applies these skills to improve the medication safety, and it's a really beneficial skill when translated into real-world practice. The upskilling of clinical knowledge is really great to see, actually. I see it as being instilling confidence in students in their workplace. And their clinical skills are definitely recognised by their peers and rewarded by management. International students, such as yourselves, will get greater exposure to the Australian clinical scenario, which may or may not be similar to where they come from or where you come from, through your problem-based learning, and students from wherever you are can interact with our practicing senior clinical pharmacists while you're studying. Each particular unit that covers one of these specialist topics, such as neurology and psychiatry or whatever topic it may be, has staff that has great clinical skills, and typically they are hospital pharmacists that are currently working in that space to give the best insight into the clinical topics that are presented. So it's really rewarding when students tell you they've learnt that what they have just learnt is directly relevant to their work. And I've had the occasional email from students that have said exactly that. So the knowledge they gained while they were studying was put into the workplace immediately. So that's the clinical aspect. So now I might just discuss a bit of the research aspect. So if Donna could move forward another slide. Thank you. So to do a full master's course, a component of the master's is a small research project in a clinical pharmacy space or a pharmacy practice space. These typically involve surveys of pharmacists or patients or other health professionals. They also can involve review of medical records or audits of practice, and typically that's done in a hospital scenario where they audit existing practice, or they might want to implement a new procedure and audit the benefits of that new procedure. So one example that I've had recently was a hospital-based project which involved the assessment of new pharmacist activity for the de-escalation of analgesics in an Australian hospital. The purpose of this audit was to determine if the new activity was justified. Did it reduce analgesic use, and particularly opioid use in patients, while at the same time not affecting the pain levels in those patients? As we all know, that opioid use, such as morphine and fentanyl and so on, can become a bit of an issue for some patients, and it's ideal to have them leave hospital with adequate pain levels or adequately controlled pain levels, and yet on as low a dose of morphine or equivalents as possible. So this particular student conducted the research, and they did exactly confirm that the new process of de-escalating opioid doses was successful in reducing the amount used as patients were discharged, and at the same time pain control was not significantly affected in these patients. So that was a really nice outcome. So a completely different project was conducted in Kuwait. So we have several overseas students, and this particular lady was working in Kuwait, and the student actually surveyed diabetic patients in a diabetic care facility that she worked at. And she asked these diabetic patients about the use of phone apps for diabetes. So the project was a little complicated because of the need for ethics in Kuwait and then corresponding ethics in Australia, because all projects that are conducted through the Masters have to have an ethics approval in Australia as well. And it was additionally complicated because the original survey material was in Arabic, and we also had to have certified English translations as a part of ethics. So there was a few complications there. However, overall, the project was successful. And one of the important findings was that there was a need to have more apps available in the Arabic language, as most apps were designed using the English language. And that particular student actually ended up getting published in, I can't remember the name of the journal now, but she was published recently in a journal from that work. We might want to move forward another slide actually, Donna, to see some examples of publications. Thank you. So in both these cases, the students gained great skills in learning how to put together a research project, how to deal with ethics and the various issues that arose as the project went along. And they were both very proud of their work, as were their peers and managers, particularly when you get to the point of publications. When you publish in peer-reviewed journals, such as these two students have done, it really adds to students' pride and success. And they can say, look at this, that's my work. I find this is inspirational, and I feel really pleased for myself and for my students that have done this. I think this also adds to the students' prospects in the workplace, because you can say, look, I've been able to manage a research project and produce a published result. I can write like this, I can do data analysis, I can understand statistics, I can do a literature search. I think something that's published in this kind of fashion really shows to employers that this is a student that's worth having. So as I've mentioned, it's good for career advancement, it's good for promotion. It's also good if you're working in community pharmacy and to get a step into hospital pharmacy practice, because it kind of shows that you've got an extra level of skills that you might not otherwise acquire working in community pharmacy. So the other thing that's useful for this, and we might just jump forward one more slide, please, Donna, is that once you've got a master's and definitely a publication out of it, it does give you does put you in a good spot to then go on to do a research higher degree or a doctorate, because applications or getting into a doctorate program often requires you to show that you have some research skills, and having publications really adds to that as well. So I'm going to start to wrap up now. Yes, I shall wrap up now. I can't remember what the next slide is, so I'll forget that. So our courses are, oh yes, this is Rahul, so we'll go back one. So our courses are pretty distinctive from many that are available in the clinical pharmacy space. We deliver the content well through engaging web pages and online videos and online presentation spaces as well. So the advantage of what we do is that students can study from wherever they are. We've had students studying from Hong Kong, Kuwait, Canada, Saudi Arabia, Austria and the UK. And many of these students have conducted clinical and pharmacy practice research in their own countries as a part of the master's course. So these advantages can be obtained whether you're based in Australia or internationally. I think one of the biggest advantages of our university, University of Tasmania, is that we're a small university in a small state. So we can engage more often and more directly with our students through one-to-one discussions by phone, email, or whatever you choose to assist you to achieve your study goals. And to summarise, I would say we look forward to having you join us and studying with us at the University of Tasmania. And I think that's the end of my talk. We'll perhaps move over to Rahul, unless Donna has something that she wishes to add.
Thank you very much, Colin, for that very insightful presentation. So without much ado, let me please introduce you our second presenter. Colin, no offense, but Rahul, Dr. Rahul Patel is one of my favorite presenter ever, only because he was once our international student. So back in 2004, he came to Australia from India to study Master of Pharmaceutical Science. So he moved from India to UTAS or in Tasmania to study that course. 5 years later, Dr. Patel joined the University of Tasmania as an academic lecturer. So at that time when he studied the Master of Pharmaceutical Science, there were only 4. In fact, probably can you please confirm later, Rahul, if you were one of the first pharmacy students at UTAS. So when he joined as an academic, our number of students have risen. So today, the UTAS Master of Pharmaceutical Science attracts up to 45 to 50 students every year. And in fact, this course is one of the most popular courses among our international students. So over to you, Dr. Rahul Patel. And thank you for having us today.
Thank you for the introduction. First of all, good afternoon and welcome everyone. My name is Rahul Patel and I am a senior lecturer at the School of Pharmacy and Pharmacology here at the University of Tasmania. I coordinate the Master of Pharmaceutical Science course and I've been doing this for the last 8 or 9 years now. Now this course, otherwise known as an MPharmSci course, is in fact, as Donna pointed out, is very popular among international students. In fact, all the students we have in the course are often overseas students. And we get students from Indian subcontinent countries, from Middle Eastern countries, from African countries, from Southeast Asian countries. We had students from South American countries and so on. So we get students into this course from all around the world. Now, $1 million question is this: why is this course so much popular among international students? Well, there are a number of important and unique reasons behind this. And throughout today's webinar, I'm going to concentrate on one very important point. And what I will do through various examples, I think I'm going to talk about 3 examples demonstrating why this course is very popular among international students. So first and foremost, this course is very attractive to our international students is because the course equips our graduates with important knowledge and unique skills required to acquire a job in relevant pharmacy related fields. And first reason is basically highlighted on this slide. So the role of pharmacist is evolving not only in Australia but around the world. And Colin did talk about this briefly 10 minutes before. So apart from standard medication dispensing and patient counseling, pharmacists are now also involved in a more expandable pharmaceutical science roles. Let me give you one example. That it is not uncommon to see that now pharmacists are involved in formulating, in preparing specialized medications. Now, these medications are the ones that are not manufactured, are not sold by pharmaceutical industries. And therefore, pharmacists do prepare these specialized medications either in hospital settings or other facilities. These other facilities are often known as extemporaneous preparation facilities. Now, it is good to see that pharmacists do perform these roles. However, while doing these roles, while performing these duties, they are often faced with unique challenges. And one important challenge is this, that more than often, the stability, otherwise known as expiry date, of many of these specialized medications is unknown. And therefore, they are faced with subsequent problems, limitations, and complications. For example, if the expiry date is unknown, what needs to happen? Well, they need to prepare these specialized medications every single day. And because they do it, it would increase resources, it would increase the cost associated with preparations, it would increase time that is needed to spend for these preparations and so on. But importantly, think from patient's point of view, that you are required to take this medication. Well, expiry date is unknown. What needs to be done? Well, you need to travel from your home to these facilities or to the hospital every other day. Well, we have other things to do. I have webinar to present. I have family to look after. Not all the patients live next to the hospital. And therefore, compliance is the issue. The cost is the issue. And this course, the Master of Pharmaceutical Science course, will equip our students with the knowledge and skills that can be effectively utilized to present creative solutions for this unique challenge. For example, through this course, our graduates develop a solid grounding in various analytical, various laboratory-based techniques and methodologies, and also enhance their problem-solving skills. And utilizing these skills, they can actually establish the long-term expiry date or stability of these medications. I will give you one real example. Recently, one of our graduates established the long-term stability of one of the specialized medications that used to be prepared every other day or every single day. And through that project, the student identified that the stability or expiry date of that specialized medication is 4 weeks. And based on this finding, what happened that hospitals adopted this new finding and the guidelines changed. So now for that medication, pharmacists don't prepare it every single day. They prepare it in bulk, and importantly, that bulk supply is provided to the patients so they can go on with their daily life rather than coming to hospital every single day. Now, the combination of this clinical and pharmaceutical skills is very important one. It is much needed one, but very rare one, unfortunately. And this course provides our graduates with these important skills, and therefore they are job ready. Therefore, it is not uncommon to see that graduates with these skills are readily employed by their employer. So that was one example. The second example is provided on the next slide. Thanks, Donna. Now, the second reason why our graduates are job ready is that the way the teaching and learning is facilitated in this course. And I wanted to say this loud and clear. The days are gone, absolutely vanished as far as this course is concerned, that a lecturer walks into a lecture theater, delivers an entire 1 hour of lecture, students listen what that lecturer had to say, students go back home and read the lecture notes and the supplementary material and take the exams. Absolutely no, it doesn't happen as far as this course is concerned. Basically, in Master of Pharmaceutical Science course, the learning and teaching is hands-on. In fact, it is extensively laboratory based. So more than 90% of teaching actually takes place in the lab. So what happens is our students are exposed not only to fundamentals and basic concepts of widely and commonly used sophisticated, the state-of-the-art analytical and laboratory instruments, but also they apply this knowledge and skills to provide a solution to real-life problems. And the instruments they're exposed to are the instruments that are commonly and widely used in pharmaceutical companies, by biotechnological industries and research institutions worldwide. So once our graduates, they complete this degree, they have the knowledge, they have the skills, they know how to operate this instrument, they know the applications of it, they know how to analyze drug molecules and other medications and so on. And therefore, it is not uncommon for our graduates to be employed in pharmaceutical industries or pharmacy related other industries straight after completion of the course. That was the second example. And the third example is again on the next slide. Thank you. Now, see, it is not uncommon to see that many international students do come here, do this course, mainly because they wanted to pursue their career in a research-oriented environment. And this course provides them with the perfect opportunity to do that, because it is a 2 year of program, and the second year they are required to carry out a 1 year of research project. And often these research projects are funded not only by local pharmaceutical companies, but international pharmaceutical companies as well. And these projects are also funded by national hospital research institutions. So when students do this project, in fact, these projects are related to real life problems, and therefore pharmaceutical companies fund that. Therefore, hospitals do fund that because they are facing a particular problem and they wanted to resolve that problem, or they wanted to answer to a particular question. And our students do work on real life projects and answer those questions. In fact, it is not again uncommon to see that good M.Pharm.Sci graduates go on and enroll into a higher research degree, for example, PhD. Give you one example, 3 of our recent MPharmSci graduates. When I say recent, means students who graduated in November 2020 are actually doing PhD with us at University of Tasmania. Now, these all are international students, by the way. Despite of that fact, they are not required to pay fees, which is about $70,000 per year over a period of 3.5 to 4 years. And on top of that, actually they receive stipend, living allowances, that is tax free. So what it shows that we are here to help our students. We are here to assist them actually if they wanted to pursue their career in one or another field. Another example could be we have 4 casual staff employed to assist us teaching in the lab, especially for MPharmSci students, and 2 out of 4 casual staff are basically MPharmSci graduates. So students do see them, students do feel them. Another example is myself, as Donna pointed out, that I am the product of this course. I started this course in 2004, and as you rightly pointed out, there were only 4 students who were doing this course. But later on, the number increased significantly. But the moral of the story is that students do see that. They see that if we work hard, if we are here to study, there is a help available and we can be one of us in future. On the next slide, I have provided 2 out of so many examples. And these are real examples demonstrating how this course helped them in securing a job. So for example, Akhil is an MPharmSci graduate. I think he graduated in November 2019, and he shoot us an email a few months after he graduated. He said, I worked on developing and validating a novel method for a dietary supplement using sophisticated instruments, and importantly, because I gained experience on these instruments during my studies, I was opted for the role at Thermo Fisher Scientific over another candidate. Similar, Maria, one of our recent MPharmSci graduates, stated, I have secured a job as a production associate at PCI Pharma Services, which is based in Melbourne. And according to her, she was interviewed for 1 hour. And she would like to say that she received the job offer because the knowledge and skills she acquired through the Master of Pharmaceutical Science course. So as I said, these are 2 out of many examples. Our students, our graduates not only work in pharmaceutical and biomedical industries, I'm extremely sorry, but these instruments, these novel techniques are used in other industries as well. For example, our graduates do go and work in cosmetic industries. They are working in very local beer brewery, for example, Cascade. So this course provide a wide range of opportunities to work our graduates in different fields. Now, I think I should stop here because I can talk about this course for hours and hours for 2 reasons. Number 1, it is my passion to coordinate this course, and this course is so closely attached to my heart. Thank you so very much for listening, and we are happy to answer your questions. In fact, I should say we'll try to answer your questions. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much for that very inspiring presentation, Rahul. So while we are waiting for our questions to come through, like I mentioned at the beginning, please feel free to type in any questions you may have regarding this course, or for your students or potential prospective students, or if you are a student, please ask some questions on the chat box. But before we go through that, we'll do a little bit of a segue while waiting for the questions to come through. We need you to help us shape our upcoming webinar, of which the College of Science and Engineering will be presenting regarding architecture. So I'll be clicking a poll we need your help in deciding which topic we will be covering for the webinar. So as you can see in here, there are 3 topics, which is communicating sustainable architecture. The second one is defining and expanding users of public buildings, flexibility, sustainability, and excitement as the third topic. So I'm launching the poll now to please select which one you would be interested to attend, or which one you would like to for us to cover. So with communicating sustainable architecture, this covers certified green buildings are becoming increasingly common. So for both private developments and public projects, such as museum and art galleries. So as institutions invest in the science and technologies that save energy, it is worth considering what else the architecture can do. So with the second topic, clearly articulate who is using a building and how can help in programming and schematic design. So while it is common to think of users in aggregate as people who come into the building objects, the city and even the larger environment can be considered and users of buildings. So in this presentation, we draw on the research on museums to articulate 7 users types of considered in design. And the last topic would be in lecture. In this lecture, it will take you on a tour of some recent art museum buildings to understand how the architecture is helping the institution to fulfill their mission. So we need your help in deciding our next upcoming webinar, and that will be next month. So thank you very much for your help with that. And yeah, so going back to our presenters. So we've got some questions that we have received. I'm just going to keep the poll open until everyone has already voted. So we've got 48, almost 50% who voted already. So going back to our question, there's one question from Bawani. Bawani question, what would a typical day look like for a Master of Pharmaceutical Science student?
Well, thank you for your question. So it depends, right? Which week of the semester we are referring here. But normally, MPharmSci students are required to enroll in 2 units in semester 1, 2 units in semester 2, and similar sort of story for the second semester as well. Now, throughout the week, they have face-to-face teaching of about 8 to 10 hours. So depending on which unit they are enrolled in, most of 1.5 days they would spend on campus in the lab. The remaining days are for them to follow the material, study online, self-directed learning, and the other times they are required themselves to prepare for the various assessment tasks. So basically they are expected to spend about 30 to 40 hours per week towards studying the units they are enrolled into, and that would include study preparation as well. Do you want to add anything, Colin, or have I missed anything here?
I don't think so, but if I could add to perhaps the typical day for my clinical pharmacy courses, basically we expect that our students would be typically working part-time or full-time. And as our clinical pharmacy courses are heavily information-centric, so for example, a lot of reading, writing, database searching, and so on, the typical day for that would start in the evening or early morning before you start your normal work job. and we would expect students to do about 10 hours a week of study towards what they do. That's about it, I think.
Excellent. So that would mean that in the life of an international student, they can juggle their studies and at the same time managing workload if they choose to work. Is that correct?
That is right, because correct me if I'm wrong, but international students are allowed to work part-time, no more than 20 hours on average per week. I yet to see one international student enrolled in in the Pharmaceuticals course who hasn't been working part-time. So I'm sure that students do balance their part-time work as well as study.
So it is manageable.
It is manageable. As I say, when I was a student, I worked part-time. Everyone works part-time. As I said, I had to see a student who doesn't work part-time.
Yeah.
And most of the students do work over the weekend on Saturdays and Sundays. And as I say, depending on which unit they are enrolled in, they are required to spend most of 1.5 days on campus. So the remaining days, they can work part-time if they prefer to, as long as it is not more than 20 hours per week.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Now, the second question is from Amandip Singh, wanted to clarify if package course can be opted by international students, enabling to complete with principal course being Masters of Clinical Pharmacy, starting with diploma or with no bachelor's degree.
This is directed at me. I'm not quite sure what is meant by packaged course, but I'll just go back a step or two. All students in in any of the clinical pharmacy courses that we teach online are required to at least have a Bachelor of Pharmacy or an equivalent degree. So you can't start without a Bachelor of Pharmacy at all. You've got to have a background knowledge of pharmacy practice and some background clinical pharmacy skills first. As far as a packaged course goes, we have what we call nested courses. So basically you would start with a graduate certificate, which is a 4-unit course. And then if you wish to get a graduate diploma, you do an additional couple of units to get the diploma on top of the graduate certificate. And then if you wish to continue to do masters, you don't have to, but if you wish to, you then have to do an additional 6 units to complete the full master's course. So it's like a nested stepwise progression through the courses. I hope that answers the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Now, while waiting for some more questions to come through, I've got a question to ask both of you, Colin and Rahul, because I know you've completed your studies at the University of Tasmania. You're a living example or product of the University of Tasmania, like Rahul was said. So I'm interested to find out what inspired you to study pharmacy and why University of Tasmania?
Well, I can go first if you like, Colin. Well, I will be as truthful as possible. So I completed my Bachelor of Pharmacy in India. I worked as an industrial pharmacist for about 1 year. And then while working, I realized it is important to have the post-graduation degree or knowledge in order for me to enhance my career prospects. And therefore I decided to do the master's. Anyways, I decided to do the master's at University of Tasmania, because at least at that point of time, there was only one university in Australia that was offering 2 years of Master of Pharmaceutical Science. And I wanted to do 2 years of Master of Pharmaceutical Science because I never thought that I'm going to be here forever. The plan was to study and then go back home. And back home, Masters is always of 2 years. So if I would have gone to other universities where Master was only 1 year, it would have been difficult for me to compete with locals when I go back. And that was one of the main reasons why I decided to study the Master Pharmaceutical Science course here. However, after coming here, see, when I came here, I didn't know anything, right? I didn't have any friends. And as I said, we had only 4 international students enrolled in the course. And I was so much surprised the way I was supported, not only by the academics and administration staff, but especially people who work in international department at that point of time. And I'm really proud to say, in fact, they did help me in finding my accommodation. I did not know where my campus is, and I do remember me walking to this international office. I rocked up there and said, "Where do I go?" Sorry, I was so naive. And the lady that said, "Don't worry," she walked down with me from up the hill to pharmacy, and she introduced me to the pharmacy receptionist. And she was also so lovely that she called the course coordinator, who came down, who helped me on how to navigate the timetabling. It was foreign to me, to be honest, to navigate the timetabling and so on. And then the course coordinator actually showed me where the lecture theaters are, where you are expected to be, when you are expected to be. So ultimately, it turned out to be a fantastic choice, not only because it offered 2 years of study, but also the way international students are supported. And take my words that I haven't left that legacy, and we are continuing this legacy till today, and we will do it for many, many years to come. And if you talk to any of our current students, they do say the way they are supported is amazing. And that is evident from our evaluates. Evaluates is basically a way to find out what students think about not only the course, not only the teaching style, but also the way they are supported throughout the course. And it is not uncommon for us to see fantastic evaluates in this course.
You must have loved the experience, Rahul, because you have never left the University of Tasmania as you arrived.
That's right. The university also didn't allow me to leave as well.
Excellent. That's great to hear. Colin, is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, I suppose I'm born and bred in Tasmania, so it was only natural to come to the University of Tasmania. So yes, that was good. I started many years ago with my Bachelor of Pharmacy, completing that in, when did I complete that? 1988. And continued to work around Tasmania, and basically fell back in with the University of Tasmania when I was employed as a research pharmacist on a large research project. And that then got me back onto the track of doing further studies, doing my honours, doing my PhD, and I've stayed on ever since after that. And it's been a great place to be in, with lots of great colleagues such as Rahul and many others. And I really am running out of things to say to add to that, so I'll stop there.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Colin. We've got one more question from Sui Hongnam. What are the jobs related to pharmaceutical science? What do the jobs do?
Yeah, so thank you for your question. So as I pointed out, our graduates work in a wide range of fields. So our graduates are employed by pharmaceutical industries, by biotechnological industries. Our graduates go on and do a PhD, and then they work either in the research industry, either in research laboratories as postdoc, or they become an academic like me. It is also a small fraction of our students go on and take the registration exam, which was known as APC when I cleared it, but now the name is changed. And then they do internship and work as registered pharmacists as well. So mainly pharmaceutical related industries, then researchers, or they go and become a registered pharmacist. These are the main 3 areas where our graduates often work.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. One last question. I'm just conscious about our time. It's 5 o'clock. Question from Panwadi. For this level, students are required to do placement. So can you please provide us information on how and where the students do their placements?
I might just jump in there, Rahul. For our clinical pharmacy courses, students aren't required to do placement for any of the clinical units. It's entirely online from wherever they are located. If students choose to do the masters, where there's a small research project involved, there is a possibility where the research might be aligned with whatever workplace they're currently working in, particularly in a hospital setting. That's about all for work placements in clinical pharmacy.
And for pharmaceutical science course, students do work on a research project in collaboration with funding bodies, but they are not required to do any placements.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So last word, Rahul and Colin, to welcome any potential or prospective pharmacy students.
Yeah, so I have two things to say. I presume our audience is divided into two different types. One is educational agents, if I am not using the term incorrectly, and two prospective students. And the message is simple. If you are coming here to do this course, I don't think that you would regret it in future, considering the type of skills and knowledge that you would have or you would have acquired by studying here for 2 years. And as I pointed out, there are so many different career pathways that you could select depending on your interest and your choice. And we have a very high staff to student ratio. And also I wanted to make it clear that as the School of Pharmacy and Pharmacology, especially this course is concerned, we are not after the number of students. What we are after is the quality of students. That's what we want, because individualized attention, individualized teaching, individualized feedback is what thrives. And that's what students love about the course. So just to give you one example, if there is a session based on theoretical discussion, basic concept, then you may say that staff to student ratio is 1:12, for example. But when it comes to hands-on training, right, when it comes to learning complicated things, often we don't have students divided in groups with more than 4 or 5 students, and at least 1 or 2 staff is available per group. And importance of that is they get real time feedback. So student is doing something and there is someone to see that, to observe that whether things are done correctly or not. And importantly, at the same time, you get response that how it needs to be done, and importantly, why whatever you were doing was incorrect or correct. So this sort of things you will learn if you do this course, and other non-academic support that is provided by academics and administrative staff and Utah staff in general is amazing, and I have experienced that firsthand.
Excellent. That's a perfect answer, Rahul. Is there anything you'd like to add, Colin?
Not a great deal, but I do agree with Rahul. We have a good staff to student ratio, which really helps encourage students along with their studies. And I think that's the key thing. And our clinical pharmacy skills and tutors that we have on board are really, really helpful and good resources to upskill their clinical knowledge. And it's really worth, I think, taking a plunge and doing these courses.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Well done, Colin and Rahul, for sharing your knowledge and expertise, and at the same time, your great experience being an alumni at the University of Tasmania. So we're quite proud of you, as always. And there you go, everyone. You've just heard from our experts, from our graduates of the University of Tasmania. So thank you so much for your time today. Understand about the time difference that wherever you are today in the world. So thank you for devoting your time with us today. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone.
And my last words, thank you everyone for listening on what we had to say, and importantly, Donna, for facilitating this session beautifully. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye everyone. Keep safe.